What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is October 18th, 2024. We made it end of the week, y'all. All right. Very interesting day. Silver for all you silver bugs. Big day. This is a very commodity-driven day. It's going to have a little bit of commodity tilt to it, less on the equity side, but some stuff happened. Let's share the screen because like what it did today. Let's see what the good old AI generator did. So here's your headline. Today, silver, so make sure you can see that. Silver leaps 6%, while gold runs to yet again new all-time highs and new all-time highs as well for materials, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the communications sector, as well as one of the second best absolute trade in the market. We'll take a look at home construction. We've been singing its praises. New all-time high for it. That's got mojo and it's continuing to run. And when you look at the entire week, and we'll recap it, this week summarized and characterized by big 12% drop in nat gas. Continued today. I actually ended up getting out of that position with a profit. We'll talk about that too if it's in the charts. I think it is. Crazy. Did not expect that. Today's expiration literally held on until about midday. And I liked where it was trading near the lows and got out. So really weak nat gas, one of the headlines this week. And big gains in uranium and Bitcoin, both about 10 to 11%. In fact, it was closer to, I believe, 12%. We'll take a look. Uranium and 9% or so. Bitcoin, big, almost double percent movers in both of those areas. So let's take a look. Just quickly, some headlines because there's some stuff here. Nothing was down today in a multiple sigma way, which is totally digestion. Market looks pretty decent. The SPY, we'll take a look at up 40 bips. SPY silver monster run up 6%. The gold miners, that's the new 52-week high for silver. Gold miners up 4%. I am long. I told you it was going to move. It had a nice pop today. We'll look at it. New 52-week highs in the gold itself, the underlying up 1%. And then we'll take a look at the rest. New 52-week highs I want to call out. Uranium, that trend. We'll take a look at that. That is for real, obviously. And then at the end of the day, this week, if you had short net gas, long uranium, long Bitcoin, you absolutely crushed it. Major alpha there, and then the best trades of the year. I'll save that for a teaser at the end. Okay, so let us. Hi, that is me. Was supposed to go to the opera. We got our plans changed, and that's why the show is now instead of Saturday. I'm sure all of you are wondering. There's no all. All right, so here is the intraday chart. This is the SPY. Let me pull it up. This is a one-day chart. Okay, so our peak was at the 9 a.m. bar here. We hit 586, and then we had a decent size sell-off here at the 9:30 opening, down to 583. We tussled really and wrestled with VWAP up until 2 o'clock p.m. Oops, this is not the right chart. Hold on a second, y'all. I just shared. Okay. All right. I usually try to only have a one-day chart. Apologies. Bar chart made some changes, and it's been a little bit different. So anywho, all right. I typically only like to have the one day. So the day started here, right here, this bar. We held VWAP throughout the day, and coinciding with a high right at 2 o'clock, and then we traded down to that VWAP at 3:30, low volume day as well, and then closed up at 40 bips. Zooming out here at what we've been saying. For the market, still would rather be a buyer than seller. See when that changes. Otherwise, I think we're still going to be in this accumulation mode for about another week or so with a lid of about 587 to 588, which would be new all-time high. So totally see that in the cards. Totally makes sense. And that's my call on SPY. Pullbacks will take you down to about 573, but I don't see that happening until another 2 weeks or so. And that's wild because that's only an $11 sell-off. So just stay along, my friends. All right. Let's take a look at the charts that mattered. So that was a SPY overview. As we said, big tilt in the commodities. Let's take a look at silver. We had called this one out a while ago and said this looked good. If you wanted more juice, a little bit more of a mover than gold. This looked really great technically, like around the 15th. So right around here is what I'm talking about when it closed at $28. And what a huge bar today. When you see a candle like this going through 52-week highs and green skies ahead, you have to zoom out and look at other resistance. So I will do that in a minute on different time frame. My target for this had been around 30 half if you get expansion 31. So it's just about at it. So let's zoom out and see the 2-year. It took out these highs that it was battling with before from May. And then if I'm going to go out here for a 5-year time frame, this is all-time highs for silver? No, there we go, bang. So we have to go back. This is February 2013. I'm looking at the next levels where things get a little bit tight is about 33 to 34 bucks. Meaning of importance, 11 years ago, resistance is how we got that level. So, yeah, it's still another, $3 to go, or so it could be 10% upside. A big explosion today in silver. It looks like it wants to go towards those golds again, making all-time highs, right? Silver, it appears, was their highs. Well, let me just see how far the data goes. So SLV's all-time high was in April 2011. Gold is doing that. Obviously, it's not the exact same use case, but in the precious metals fam, silver's all-time high is at 48 bucks. You see the stock closed nearly 31. So I think money to be made there. Again, short term, my target here is 30, half 31. So I don't love it here. When the sell-off comes for it, it's going to pull back, I think, to about 29. So this thing moves, but here it's going higher. All righty. Trading's so crazy because it sounds like I said two things the same way, opposite, but it's the truth. All right, GDX, glad I bought these. We had been talking about this, said it was going to move, and this thing can move major, and it did. A big move today, 4%. My calls were up, I believe, 40%. So this looks good. My target, again, for this had been about 42.5, maybe 42.75. So this looks a bit stretched. Love the movement, though. I'm long their Decembers. I'm not getting out. If I zoom out here, this is a 5-year chart. There's some sort of a weightiness around 43.5 to the 44 area range. But really after that, I mean, let me go to a max chart on this. So similar to silver, this you have to go back to 2012, 2013 area, and that's what the gold miners are trying to contend with. The next area for this would be right around this 47 to 48 level. I don't think that's going to happen right now. I'd rather be a buyer than seller here in the short term. I think it can go and hold this 43 level. That's quite a rich level. The 21-day exponential moving average is 40, so that's quite a discount or quite a premium. I think pullbacks over the next month or so in GDX take you to about 40. So that's what my standard is on that. Man, it's Friday, huh? And let's go to GLD. GLD, I'm going to resort back to the 1-year chart. So GLD, I always try to keep these a little bit diversified in terms of the charts, but they were all super commodities related today. This was what they were buying today. So here is GLD, exact same story. What I said about the gold miners, rather be a buyer than seller. But my target for this is right around 250, and it's trading at 251. So don't love that. Like I said, I'm long the GDX. This is a group you cannot ignore. GDXJ is coming up for, I think, the 4th best trade. We'll look at the 52-week trades at the end, but I think GDXJ now is the 5th best trade in the market in the past year. So you can't ignore this space. It is full real. A lot of different pieces going on the roulette wheel. You might as well toss some on silver and gold. So yeah, and pullbacks on this, I think, take you to about 243 to 245 over the next month or so. All right. Boopity boopity bop. All right, no losers, so that's crazy. Wow, we went through the 3 big multiple sigma movers: silver, new 52-week high; gold miners, new 52-week high; and then GLD, new all-time high. Losers, nada, pretty crazy. And then we get to uranium here. So top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. If you're long uranium, congratulations. It is up 12% to a new 52-week high today. Always a good thing when you have to zoom out of the charts and you have to get a bigger time frame to see where the next resistance is, because these things have momentum. This technically has not done a whole lot. Look at the 200-day moving average. Has no curvature in it since July. So pretty wild to see that. In terms of the chart, probably not, without even looking further, I'm guessing I'm going to say exactly what I said. Rather be a better buyer than seller. It's at target and wait for a pullback. But yeah, pretty much the same thing. 31.60 to about 32 was my target on this to the upside, which was still, I believe, pretty much 52-week highs. Well, 32 was over here. We would get very close to the May highs. Yeah, this thing has been really had a rocket ship. Again, target's around 32, so I think this has come down. It's outside the Bollinger Band. It usually hasn't been able to sustain this. Good action, though. It had a big, exuberant day, excuse me, on the 16th. And not a great day yesterday of trading. And then today it battled back very nicely to new 52-week highs. So very impressive. When we go to a max chart on this, this gets a little bit spotty. It's going back to those 2012, 2013 highs when silver and the gold miners were all the rage as well. This is back to 2014. There's a little bit of a cheaper ETF. But yeah, the next difference I would say with $40 would be the resistance point later on. I would say that's probably more of December potentially story. So that's uranium, but new 52-week highs today. And just the last thing we're talking about this, because this was a good textbook example when the 52-week 200-day moving average starts to curl, right? So right here, we started the counter July 18th, and I said, hey, this has about a month to a month and a half to see if it could be a superstar again. And this is interesting. It went all the way to September 24th. So again, trading is very messy. It is not written in stone. I think one of the important things that to see here when you add technical analysis layers on it is that they didn't make new lows, okay, to give you cause to not throw in the towel. It did not make new lows here on September 6th, and we started to stabilize. We started to see some stabilization here in the moving average. Moving average is long in addition to the 50-day, and the 200-day really did not give way, and we were range bound here. Volatility really contracted, and then this looked very impressive September 25th, and now this is where it's at 52-week high. So if it's a show me story, it's already done in my book enough for you to stay long. But yeah, it's going to hold this, I believe, this 29 support, the 200-day moving average. Alrighty, and I do not have anything in uranium. I'm already in short net gas and then long and short SLB, and then what's the other thing? Oh, long GDX. So I get my commodity exposure from that. All right, IBIT, second biggest gainer this week, up 9%. A very good week. Let's go to the 1-year chart. Here we go. So very close to the upper band here. It's trying to get to its, July highs. So we looked at this one before. And we actually translated it to Bitcoin with the math. Excuse me, kids. They're germ factories. So my target for this was 39 after the run. Similar to what I said about the market, it's just right under the lid, essentially, right at target. So 39.20. 39.40, right around there was my target. So maybe a little bit more. I don't think it competes and gets above those July highs, though. So I think it stays range bound. We did the math yesterday. I believe it was right around that 69, 70K even level on Bitcoin. So we'll see how it trades, of course, this weekend. But a very nice rally from the 10th to the 18th. Low to high, this thing's gone from 33 to 39. So a monster move in Bitcoin the last 8 days. One sec. That's the second best trade of the week. And then no repeats in charts. GDX is the third best trade in the week, up 8%. So it goes uranium up 12% to new 52-week highs today. IBIT or Bitcoin up 9%, second best trade of the week. And then third best is GDX up 8%. I'm glad to be a part of 2 out of 3 of those this week. Let's see on the other side. And this is where you can really see portfolios move underneath, is when you really have both sides. And it does not always work, believe you me. But it did this week, because now the biggest loser in the market this week was nat gas, down 12%, and I was able to participate. So again, it just shocks me. This is like Motel 6 lights flashing here, just textbook trading. Technically speaking, October 3rd, you sell that thing and you hold on to it until you get really a close and see where it contends with these lows. I didn't think it was going to be this week. The 52-week lows is 1257. It's getting very close. Today, the low was 1296. I actually traded at right around 13 even, so 1299 to 13 even. I thought this would stabilize right around there. This thing's breaking down. I still think you could get a pop in this potentially next week to about 13. So it's so weak. It really lives up to the name of being just a piece of junk. 1375 maybe tops, something like that. But yeah, I want to keep an eye on it. Potentially you could play it the other way, since the lows did hold and they held again here in August. You just want to think about it. They held out August and then again. Want to see what happens. Usually you don't knock, the third time it goes through. So I want to see how this trades next week if it slices through. I do not have a net gas position since it was options expiration today. So crazy thing on here. This the position was, it was a $14 expiration put for today, and it was not doing great. The trade, I got into it early, before the 200-day moving average. So sometimes it doesn't pay to be early, of course. And today, when it gapped down 2%, the option was starting to look good, and I ended up getting out with a 40% gain. Never would have predicted it. It was out of the money, just not trading well for the longest time. So again, $14 is here. You get paid typically in options. Yeah. So again, it was trading above that. I got in probably right around here on the 26th, and then it didn't really get below 14 until the 15th barely, and then the 16th more so when it was closing at 1344. So crazy. Options trading very messy. But nat gas, again, I think it would stabilize around 13, 50. It's very, very weak right here. I do want to see how it trades that next week. All right, Vaneck gas, yeah, momentum to the downside, the weakest trade this week, the worst trade on the short side, down 12%. USO is the second. So also I participated in this short Schlumberger. So oil, second worst trade in the market this week, down 8%. So that's no bueno. Started, with some geopolitical stuff about, Israel saying they're going to spare Iran, and oil was down 5% that day. This has had an ugly, after the seventh spike, and that's the best it can manage. I'm almost starting I'm starting the counter again here. Starting October 15th is when it starts its loser profile, essentially. So let's see how it trades. But this 200-day moving average, I think, is going to be heavy resistance for it for a while. I don't think it's going to hold it with much gusto. And it's 75 today, down 1.7%. The second weakest trade this week. I think this, I'm not going to change my tune. This goes down, I believe, for the next 2 weeks or so towards $68. I don't think this one gets saved, but I do think those September lows hold. And I don't think that's that bad of a story, but I do think that's what's happening here with oil. All right. And then KWEB. So Chinese internet has not rebounded, down 7% to be the third worst area to be in the market this week. Let's take a look at this stabilized. I actually, full disclosure, have a note here to buy some China October 22nd. Let's see how it's looking today. Up 4.5%. Nice rebound. Very choppy trading, though. You can see these are having 4 or 5% moves. Want to see how this still trades next week. It is right at its 21-day exponential moving average. That's interesting to me, which is 32.5. So we're quantitatively, numerically, we are trading with a little bit more focus, a little bit more quantitative weight on recent pricing for the last, month, and we're holding it. Okay, so numerically that is 32.47. It's pretty much right here where you can see my cursor. So that is not only above the May highs. That's ancient history now. But after they announced the stimulus, that's what we got a little bit very interesting yesterday with the sell-off. We went below where they announced, I believe, where they announced the stimulus. Right? Here was the stimulus. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong thing. We were getting closer on the lows yesterday to when they gapped up before. Yeah. So anywho, I want to see how this balances. It could get on sell-offs, get sold off to 30. But impressive day today. Market's going to be overall, I think, SPY in accumulation mode with a lid, depending on rotating areas. It depends. All the areas don't just look good. Healthcare does not look good. That's rolling over. We'll see. So it still depends on the spaces. Some have a lid on it. But see how China. I do think there's a very good chance I buy some China on the 22nd. And it might either be through FXI, it might be through KWEB. I'll take a closer look. Could be BABA or JD or something like that. But I do think it's worth looking at here when there's going to be, end of year performance chasing. If you're on any emerging markets at the end of the year, you're going to look like a bit of a doofus, I think, if this is sustained. And again, because of the stimulus and how this works, my calendar for this, not that it's set in stone, we saw it break the other time with uranium, but my calendar for this is on September 23rd to see that it's a superstar. So after that, I say October 23rd to, early November. I want to see if this is holding. And what's up, Q? If you have a ticker, put it in the chat, y'all. So I want to see how this trades, but I'm going to participate in China. And even if Trump wins, I know people are saying that gets torn apart because it'll be the worst tariff, economy policy in years and decades. But it might be a short-lived sell-off. I would still probably participate if the rally, like we're saying, holds. All righty, we got a lot to do here. All right, that was KWEB. All right, so actually not that much. So top 3 absolute trades of the past 5 days. If you were short nat gas, long uranium, long IBIT. Q, I know you're long IBIT. Well, you're long Bitcoin. But yeah, you absolutely captured the market. Okay, top 3 absolute trades of the past 52 weeks. No repeat in charts. I will put this up just to pay respect to these assets since they are the best freaking securities of the ETF world. Long GBTC plus 147% in the past 52 weeks. If you're bad with a calendar, that's October 18th, 2023 through today, October 18th, 2024. So up 147%. That's greater than 10% per month. So I do want to look at, and I think you care about this, Q, if you're still on. Bitcoin has had a challenge ever since that Japan crash. This is GBTC. I can look at the mothership, BTC, in a second. But here, it's doing all right. It's contending. The 200-day moving average is still rallying. Still rising. The all-time highs for this ETF, GBTC, is $66 rounding, and this was struck back in March. Want to obviously see this breakout me things. A lot of people are thinking it is going to break out as well, that we've been in this box for about 7 months, and now the breakout's for real. Well, let me break out some. Hold on a second here. Let's go to the mothership. Let's go to BTC, because we already looked at IBIT, so it's kind of similar. But let me do this. So here's Bitcoin past year, very similar chart. Obviously, it's a day difference because of how it borrows or how it settles. So the highs were, I'm rounding, 73,600, and here we are. I just don't think it does it. I'm going to stick with my calculation. I think we get to just about 69, 70K, which would be above these July highs. And it's going to have I think it might have a hard time. I don't know. It looks like it's going to have a hard time contending with 71 to 72K. I don't think you just get that breakout, but it has been trading better. Let's say I'm long, so I'd rather be wrong. I think that this is a lot of energy too. You've seen Bitcoin do this. Also, look at the stochastic momentum mix, kind of like your heart rate in a way, the way I visualize this. It's had these runs before, so I'm looking at this move from the 11th when it traded down to 60K, and now you're trading to 68K, and you were asking for a breakout to get to 72. I just don't think it does the time. That's a hell of a rally, and if it holds its 200-day moving average, that's not a horrible point. It does have a little bit more to go. I think it has some strength. I don't hate that. That's what I'm saying. Get you to 70K. I'll look at your single stock after, but I do want to go through the year-end stuff. All right. So that's Bitcoin, the absolute best stock in the entire marketplace, best ETF in the market of the past year. Second, and you got to pay attention to this, it has finally, we talked about this last week, foreshadowing, ITB has overtaken semiconductors. It's done it. Obviously, depending on because of the look back being 52 weeks, and this thing has momentum. This hit new all-time highs today, so you're kind of a schmuck if you're not in home construction, or at least something real estate adjacent in your portfolio. I'm long IYR. I'm going to see how the ITB lines up in terms of short-term forecast. Obviously, all-time highs. It's at resistance. I wouldn't even think so. I think this is heading towards 132 in the next 2 weeks or so. So this, I think you could still buy this. Curb your enthusiasm potentially a bit, but this has legs. Fed's cutting to 2026, whether it be 25, 50 basis points. They're going to cut in some sort of a program. And this chart looks wonderful. It's overtaken semis. You do AI, in the top 50 S&P trade and the Qs for growth. And then you have this on the back end. And it's a great trade. And it's working. I highly suggest you get in the home builders, which has a lot of momentum. If you were thinking that's a fad and it's not going to overtake semis and it's fake, it's hitting new all-time highs today. So any pullback to 125 should be bought. I will say that I'm going to hit Rocco in the face, but I would put it like a Rocco. Oh, Q, your Rocco indicator. I'd put his face right there. 125, you buy the hell out of that. All right, and then lastly, aforementioned, the SMH, third best gainer of the year. So it goes GBTC up a robust 147%. And then ITB 74%. And then, I'm going to be a stickler. The next one is SMH at 73%. So, yes, it's very close. But I'm talking about the momentum. One has had its highs back in July, and the other one did it 2 hours ago. So, pay attention. So, obviously, it's great if you're in these spaces. You got to be in Bitcoin. You got to be in home builders. You got to be in semiconductors. You just have to. I don't know what you're doing. And thankfully, if you're in the S&P, it gets you in those things. Not really the Bitcoin part, but buy MicroStrategies for that. Anyway, for the SMH, again, my target, I talked about this a bunch of times, 262 on the upside, 264 on the absolute exuberance. Today was flat, pretty much an untouched space. I don't think this group is loved, and I think it descends to 248. Not anything significant, but I think this group still is out of favor for the next 1 to 2 weeks, and it starts to have a little bit of descent to $4 or so. All righty. I think now, all right, that is all I had to do. And the question here is, I hate the stock, but curious your thoughts on Peloton. All right, I shorted this like 2 years ago. And then, it gets hard with the borrow and stuff once it gets below like $18. I remember stopping when it was like $18. Let me zoom out. And it was when they were going through CEOs and all this stuff. Let me see. I'm just curious. Yeah, maybe around April 2022. Anyway, so let me go into 1 year on this piece of junk. So it's up 11% today. This is interesting. Let's take a look. So Peloton, very small market cap, not that small. It's $2 billion now on almost $3 billion revenue. So not horrendous valuation for whatever they are, fitness or I don't know. So it's the same thing, dude. I'm going to look at the short term. Targets and such. So the calendar started here for me, August 22nd for this thing. That's pretty impressive. Now it's been doing it Probably worth the punt. I would like to see the 200 moving average start to flatten out a little bit. It's probably going to do it soon. Right now, it's still descending slowly from 419 to 418. I do think that support holds. And I don't know if this was earnings. Oh, yeah, it was earnings right here. Yeah, they probably sold factories, or I don't know, laid off people, or I'm sure they took significant cost cutting. And now that looks to be effective measures. Look at the 200 moving average has held it in September as well. And again, in the beginning of October. So all that being said, my upper target for the near term is about 5, right about here, similar to what I was saying about the rest of the market, to be honest with you. Right around here, like 5, upper Bollinger Bands, 559, say like 575. It's still a little bit rich. I don't know what happened today. Did someone not die on a bike or something that you could put in the news? Do you know what happened today? I have no idea, because the volume was also not so big. So if you know what happened today, put that in there. I don't really know, and I don't care that much. But this is a big gainer. But yeah, but longer term, that would be interesting. And then obviously first stop would be to take out the 52-week highs at 724, but that's way down the line. All right. It is Friday. See you guys. Diffuse some kindness this weekend. Don't be a tool. Pretty good advice. Someone signed off. Bye.